Welcome to online video course Creating First NPM Package Like a Pro. In this video, we are going to configure a Jest testing framework. Jest is a powerful and popular testing framework for JavaScript. Before I get started with setting up the testing framework, I would like to mention I have already prepared a small document for your reference. I'm going to share a link of that document in the description below, so you can follow and refer same during the course. To get started with setting up the Jest framework, we need to install its dependency. We are going to install Jest and Jest dependency for the TypeScript. If you would like, you can copy the command for installing the dependency from this reference document. Otherwise, you can just simply type npm install jest jest and its type @type/jest, and if you would like to save this entry into the package.json, you can mention dash dev or dash d for short. I would like to save this dependency as a dev dependency in my project. If you would like to know like why it's a dev dependency, you can check my previous video for the same. Until it gets started and get installed, we can start uh, configuring the Jest file. Let's open your editor and which has already opened our ongoing project. We need to create the configuration file for Jest, which is jestconfig.json. So I'm creating jestconfig.json file. I would like to have all my test case inside in separate directory, and that should be some special directory. So I'm going to give some special name like underscore tests underscore underscore. I just follow these practices. If you would like to have different name for your directory, you can prefer that. So I just created test directory for my test cases. I created justconfig.json file for configuration. So let's add some configuration to the config file. So instead of typing in the same, I'm just going to copy some default configuration that I use in my most of the project. I would like to transform the TypeScript file using the jest package, and I'm going to use the test regular expression to match the test case file. So we'd like to have that all these files from the folder, that's directory that we just created for test, and it should be in the file should be postfix with the test or the spec keyword. So we are just ready with like configuration for the jest. Let's create our first test case file to demonstrate. So I will name it as a first.test.ts. Please note that every test case file should end either postfix by test keyword or the spec keyword. Let's create the first test case for us. Jest is a really rich and powerful framework. It provides a lot many functions that can be helpful during the test. I'm writing this first test. Let's say it's saying that 1 plus 2 should be equal to 3. If you ever work with the unit testing before, you will be familiar with this syntax. Let's add some expectation here. So it's just a simple test case to just check our Jest configuration is working or not. Before I get start to like testing this test case in my project, I would like to set up the script task for the same. So let's open package.json file and try to set up the test script task. We already have some test script written in there by default when you create the package.json file. So instead of writing it down, I will just copy it from the reference code and replace it with that. So we are almost ready with like configuring the Jest file. Now open your terminal. We already have installed the all the dependency. So we can run test task to just start testing with the Jest. And you can see that it's using the Jest command that's we have mentioned in the script. So our configuration has found some test case in first.test.ts. It's going to run this test now. I don't know why it's taking so much time. It shouldn't take that much long time. It's just a simple test for now. So it has run our first test case. If it's passed, it show the green mark. If it's failed, it show the error as well. So it found the one test case and one has been passed. Let's try to mess with that and we will check how it shows the error. So let's say I want to 1 plus 1 should be 4 instead of 3, and let you can see that it has been failed because the expected the expectation we are written in test case is we are expecting the 4 as a result, but actually it received 3 as a result. So the test case has been failed. We know this is a really simple test, but the same thing can be useful in a large project. We are going to cover writing actual test, unit test for our library later in this course. One more thing before we start to the next topic, I also created one another script that is a test colon tdd. It's just for running the test case in a watch mode. So you can write down a test and compile it at the same time. It's just like simply using it as a test driven development. So let's check how it can be. So instead of running the test, I will run now test colon tdd. So it will start running test case in a watch mode. As our test is running and it has been failed, so we can move to the code and we try to fix it and try to save it. So once we fix it and save it, it's automatically should get corrected now. So likewise, we can write our specification, that is a test case and expectation, before we write down the code, and then we will write the actual code until it gets succeeded. So if you would like to demonstrate that, let's say we are going to have some small method. As for demonstrate, I will say I'm going to write a method for my summation purpose. So let's say I want to write down the summation method. So it should take argument as 1 plus 1 comma 2 and it should return 3 out of it, but that method I need to import it from somewhere. So let's say I am going to import this from src/index. So I have written down my expectation and specification for our method uh, before we done any coding. So as of now, this is failing. So we can start actual coding against that specification. So let's head to the index.ts file and I will delete all this code and we will start with writing sum method. As we have written a sum method, but we are expecting we have already configured some expectation for it. So our method should take the two argument and it should return number out of it. So let's try to fix it. So let's say it takes a and b as argument and it return a plus b. As we save it, we have created code for our expectation. So let's check the. I I tried to write down the code for like as per our expectation, but our TypeScript compiler are giving some small error, right? Saying that the parameter that we are passing it is having the implicit type as a any. So let's fix that. So our a should be a number and b should be a number as well, and we want to return the number out of it. Once we fix that, I guess the test should be passed, and that's how we do the test driven development. This is not the correct way doing the test driven development, but I guess you might have get the small sense of how we can do the TDD with the help of Jest as well. In this video, we already has configured the Jest for our application. We also tested the small test case for Jest for our application. The small things I would like to mention is here I'm directly importing from the TypeScript but not the JavaScript. It can be possible because we are using the Jest-ts dependency to compile and transform our files. Before we close this video, I would like to commit my code so you can follow along during the course. So let's check like how many files has created. Adding that file for to commit, committing the file with that message, add just to project. I'm pushing these changes with git push. The same code should be available on GitHub repository. I will share the repository link in the description below so you can follow along with the same. I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day ahead.